Without much further ado, I give you...
You could call it the Mike from PA Friendly Re-Education Center against bad things to make people happy.
Without much further...
Yeah. Thank you, Acid Communist. We really do need it. Because I don't know if you saw this. Sign that they were posting in the RNC. It was basically mass deportations now.
He will arrest the criminal illegal immigrants and put them behind bars. Or send them back.
Mike. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But your name, wanna start changing your ways.
All right, chat. This is the story of the morning. This is from the Washington Post. Let's get into it. I just wanted to say, like, when you're talking about the VP and you're talking about what would happen when Joe goes, can you guys, can you do me a favor and, like, shit, when people say, like, a conservative Democrat should be the VP, can you shit on that? Can you do me a favor and be like, why are you trying to push right-wing shit? Like, what's wrong with you? What the fuck's wrong with you? Can you like, you know, maybe do some research at what the people believe before you say they should be the VP? Like, you know, might be a thing. Like, it seems like my shitting on Whitmer has ironically made things worse because the people then shifted to even worse people than Whitmer, which I thought wasn't possible. But there you go. It's like Big Gretch is certainly not my favorite because I think she would be at best a bog standard Democrat, but I don't trust her because her donors are all, you know, health insurance lobbyists and you know, Harvey Weinstein's friends. That's not an exaggeration. But at least she, you know, wasn't pushing, as far as I'm aware, massively Republican policies like Josh Shapiro. I saw a tweet from Andrew Weissman where he was suggesting a unity ticket of Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney. It's like these people are trying to make Biden dropping out worse than if he stayed in. Unity tickets lose, in case you're wondering. Are you gonna get? We need to have a actual Democrat as VP. The VP is not a. The VP is not a throwaway role. The VP is the 101st senator. Like, you need an actual left winger to be the VP voting for left wing shit. Literally, no one likes Liz Cheney on either side. No, the people that like Liz Cheney are people who are ideological neoliberals because she represents ideological neoliberalism and American imperialism. It's not like Republicans appoint progressive VPs. Well, no shit. You have to understand that we have two parties in America, the Conservative Party and the Fascist Party. We don't even have a liberal party, let alone progressive party. It doesn't matter that 70% of the people that vote for the Conservative Party are actually progressive. It doesn't matter because fundamentally, if you vote for someone who's right wing, you're right wing.
Mika, the sobering message he got yesterday from congressional leaders and his biggest fundraiser was simple. We're losing, you're losing, and you're going to run out of money because the donors have left. So I don't know what those two or three in his inner circle are going to say to that. But the fact is, they don't know more than Nancy Pelosi about polling. They don't know more about contributors.
Oh, there you go. And as you know what, Chad, I want to say in this moment that that AOC and Bernie Sanders, and this has always been the big problem with the left in America, is that our political instincts are terrible. And it's something that I've been yelling about for a long time. It goes back to 2019. Like, the fact that Bernie Sanders couldn't clear the progressive wing and get them all behind him. Like, why was Elizabeth Warren running for president in 2020? She lost that right to do that. When she passed in 2016 and Bernie didn't and nearly won, He became the leader of the progressive movement. How come he wasn't able to clear the field and consolidate the progressive left? He had all these people running in his lane. Why was that? Why was, after he won New Hampshire and he won Nevada, why wasn't he on the phone with Elizabeth Warren and saying, I want you to be my VP if you drop out and endorse me? Drop out and endorse me and we'll run together as a ticket. Why? Like, he wasn't able to do anything. He didn't have the dog in him. There was no threat. And here's the thing. You could be a really nice person, and that's important. But you also need to be ruthless to your enemies. This is politics. And it's the same thing with Jeremy Corbyn. This is why people are so scared of Mélenchon, because Mélenchon isn't a fucking pussy. And thank God he's not. I hope he's even more ruthless. And, the reality is that, AOC and Bernie trying to glom onto Biden. What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? He's dead on arrival. The base hates him. Young people hate him. The reason you guys are in power are because of young people. And young people are telling you with the loudest voice, we want Genocide Joe gone. Pure miscalculation. Soft. Weak. Power oriented, but not really. And this is the issue I have the most, is after 4 years of Joe Biden as president, how many of you believe he's a powerful man? He couldn't whip one member of Congress to vote for Build Back Better. He has been rolled by Benjamin Netanyahu into doing the most disgusting genocide in the past 50 fucking years. And this is something that and I've been calling for Joe Biden to drop out. Why have I been calling for Joe Biden to drop out? I called for Joe Biden to drop out after the minimum wage failure. You could be one of those people who says, oh, a $15 minimum wage is too much, which is wrong, by the way, and it's been wrong for 6 years. But say you're one of those people. He didn't even get it to $10.10. He didn't even get it to $12.50. He failed to do anything. He failed. Since his presidency, I hear the phrase, the president is a figurehead 10 times as often, which is false. The president is the most powerful executive in the Western world. President Biden may decide to drop out of the presidential race as soon as this weekend, according to several top Democrats who believe the rising pressure will persuade the 81-year-old. Now, obviously, I don't want to celebrate too early. We're not going to play coffin dance. We're not going to do Rip Bozo. But here's the reality. This man can't run again.
Well, Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign.
Jeffrey Schumer privately warned Biden he could imperil Democrats. The Democratic leaders in separate meetings last week suggested Biden candidacy could damage the party's hopes of controlling the House and the Senate. Let's get back to Morning Joe, because this is the ultimate signal. If Morning Joe is caving, it's beyond Joever, because these are people who had the most to lose. These are the people who Joe Biden's favorite morning program is Morning Joe. He loves Morning Joe. He calls them for advice. So if they're saying that Joe Biden has to go, then he's toast.
Than Jeffrey Katzenberg, who's dedicated a good chunk of, the last decade to helping elect Joe Biden.
You should show what they said yesterday first, LOL. I mean, we all know that they were saying that we're all wrong and he's tied and he's fine. We know that these people were all saying the opposite yesterday. Like, if I was quantum leaping, I would he was quantum leaping, Mike Joe sometimes. Like, if I legitimately I don't know what is going on with people. You know what it makes me right? You know what makes me right is I just apply material logic to reality, and I have standards, and I reference whether I think someone is a good president or good leader with the material gains or losses of their people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't let rhetoric trick me into thinking these people are my friends. I don't form parasocial relationships with politicians. The closest I've ever come to being parasocial was with Bernie himself, but even I'm happy to fucking criticize him and AOC as I am right now when I think they're doing something really fucking stupid. But I want to say that I'm actually pretty proud of myself for how clear-eyed I've been over the last 4 years and how I have been completely proven right time and time again. When I called into Majority Report and I said I was concerned about Joe Biden as president, I was concerned about who he's going to put into power, I was concerned about how he was going to spend the effort, the anti-progressives are going to be in Congress, that he wouldn't rein in all the bad elements, that he would fail to pass progressive policies. I was right. Now, a lot of people are coping. I don't know what happened. I think a lot of people have coped themselves into believing he was some sort of successful president, and I don't understand why. I think it's because they can't handle the reality that if Joe Biden was unsuccessful, they really don't think that anyone could be successful, and it's their way of avoiding being a doomer. So instead of being a doomer, they lie to themselves and others about how progressive Joe Biden was. Joe Biden was not a progressive president. Not even a little bit. He was a loser, guys. He failed. Now, you could say there's a lot of reasons why he failed. You could put your fingers at, Joe Manchin, if that makes you feel better. But he was a failure. He was a failure from the top. And there's really nothing more to say. And that's why the American people hate his guts. Because he failed.
Biden. And when you hear from congressional losers, we're losing.
Yeah.
You're
congressional
losing.
Losers? You mean congressional leaders?
Leaders, yeah.
And the donors have all abandoned you. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really matter what people are saying on the inside.
Like I said last hour, I believe deeply in President Joe Biden's ability to run this country. Yep. I also trust more than anybody I've ever met in politics, Nancy Pelosi's political acumen. So when she speaks, I listen, and I think a lot of other people do.
Well, Democrats certainly do on the Hill.
Let's bring in NBC News and MSNBC political analyst and former U.S. Senator Claire McCaskill. Claire, your thoughts this morning as the president works to recover from COVID and the RNC is confidently underway.
Yeah, this is a tough time for the Democratic Party for a lot of reasons. But if you look at the narrative of what's happened, I think, and I look at this, folks, from a perspective of somebody who might be running for Senate in a tough state, because that's what Chuck Schumer is focused on. Hakeem Jeffries is focused on congressional candidates running in swing districts. That's what delivers majorities for the policies that we care about, for the values that we all share. And they watched the debate, realized that the age issue had now become something that was very, very big. And immediately afterwards, those candidates and those elected leaders of our party thought, well, let's give Joe Biden space and grace, because this was a horrible night for him, and everyone felt for him personally about how difficult that night had
Claire
to have.
McCaskill lost to one of the fascist twinks by shitting on the left. And her reward for being a loser and a failure is to be brought on MSNBC to shit on the left professionally. There's no like, maybe my strategy of shitting on the left doesn't work.
Been for him and his family. And the other thing that happened is everyone waited a week to 10 days to poll. I think you can assume that every single battleground state where we have a Senate election waited 7 to 10 days and then went in the field. And they asked questions like, would it impact your vote if the U.S. Senate candidate refused to acknowledge that there might be difficulty with Joe Biden serving another 4 years? They ask questions like, do you believe Joe Biden is the strongest candidate for the Democrats to, in fact, field? Those polls all came back. And as time went on, it appeared that the circle around Joe Biden got closer and closer. And then it came time for the leaders.
And he was listening to Hunter Biden in between crack rock hits
of those groups, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, to take data to the president and say, this is what we're facing. This is really a problem. Not that anyone, I think, took joy in that. Not that anyone is trying to push Joe Biden off a cliff. I think everyone is feeling a lot of mixed emotions about this. Everyone. Because there's this thing looming, and we watched it last night, that people who, 10 minutes ago were calling Donald Trump Hitler and unhinged are now going, rah, rah, it'd be great. So it is something that I think when they tried to move up the roll call, I think that, frankly, turned a lot of people that were sympathetic to where Joe Biden was to being angry and mad. That not only were they not listening to the concerns of the other elected people in his party, but that they were hell-bent on going forward even more quickly than they needed to try to slam the door on honest concerns of a whole lot.
Biden won because of COVID and has to drop because of COVID. COVID helps us every time. I mean, listen. We lost 1.5 million boomers probably 10 years before they were going to die from natural causes. Now Joe Biden has to drop out of the race. I mean, I'm not trying to say COVID is God's will or anything. That would be uncouth. Obviously, a lot of conservatives used to say that about AIDS and HIV. But I will say this.
Then die. What do we do? Argue with you? I'm not on the debate team.
Yeah, but it didn't take Trump when it had the chance. I mean, Donald Trump got helicoptered to Walter Reed Medical Center where he went on supportive oxygen. And I believe he was given the third batch of the monoclonal antibodies that existed on the planet. He was given the most experimental treatments while having a whole array of presidential medical support teams.
And these aren't elite voters out there, guys. I can just tell you from my time over the last week, most people who come up to me that are folks like, my plumber who called me. Yeah. These are people that are really worried about Donald Trump being president.
Plumber called her and said, please tell Biden to drop out. I mean, I called my congresswoman. I left her a message. I don't know about you, chat, but I did. I call, I could call more. I have Congress people's numbers. I can call more of them. They won't pick up, but I could leave them a message. That's actually a really good idea. That's a really good idea.
Deeply worried, Mike, but it did seem like, to Claire's point, that the Biden team had a window here. That after the debate, we'll give you a chance, prove us wrong, show us that you can still do this. And he's been out there. He's had some good performances. He's had some decent interviews. He got through the press conference just fine. But it almost seemed like the performance ended up not mattering because perception had taken hold, that he no longer could do it. And the data backs that up, the fundraising backs that up. And it seems that these Democrats who really like Joe Biden, who are really deeply grateful to him for his service.
By the way, this is what they need. This is why, I have been a Joe Biden hater, and I've been saying I will never vote for him for years. I mean, I won't vote for Joe. When did I first start saying that? I think it was about him restarting student loans. I think that's what I had it with Joe Biden. I was like, why is he doing this? Why is he restarting student loans? This is fucking stupid. No one wants this. No one cares. What the fuck is he doing? Won't vote. Let me see when I first started saying I won't vote. Let's see. I'm in a swing state. I voted for HRC in 16 and Biden in 20. Unless he makes substantial promises on court reform, labor rights, minimum wage, filibuster reform, he won't receive my vote. Shaming me is futile. The only person who could win my vote is Biden. He needs to act fast. This is before the genocide. And here's the thing. Why did I say that? Because he failed on Build Back Better, and he failed big. You won't have to worry about my vote if you nominate a leftist. It's pretty simple. I'm really easy to please. Love it. Scolding protesters who are frightened over losing reproductive rights. Remember when Roe v. Wade got overturned, some protesters went to protest at the Supreme Court justices' houses who had made the ruling. And what did POTUS do? He came out and condemned the protesters. And here it is in May 9th, 2022. I said, could someone please codify Roe? They still had the Congress. Why aren't they codifying Roe v. Wade?
I think he's been a very good president, but I no longer think he's a good presidential candidate. And nothing that has happened, despite Biden and his team's best efforts, has changed their mind.
You know, Jonathan, age historically has gone undefeated. There's nothing you can do about it. You get old, you get old. And there are certain elements of getting older that affect you physically and sometimes mentally. The problem here is the confusion about who Joe Biden is today. Joe Biden remains today the decent, generous, honorable human being that he has always been all of his life. And to read the reports, as Claire was just indicating, of unnamed members of Congress and unnamed members of the Senate who are thinking of their down ballot success this fall, they're thinking about their own jobs. Everybody understands that. But to be told that they're bitter about Joe Biden or disappointed in Joe Biden is really, really sad, because the man has given his best to the country.
Yes.
He has had a wonderful 4-year administration with more success that I would argue than Barack Obama had in his administration. He has changed the country. And Joe and Mika, I don't know about you. I do know about you, actually. But the sadness of this is personal for me, and I think for people who know Joe Biden. You don't want to see him pushed out. You don't want to see him hurt or humiliated. You want to see him thrive, to be a success, whether he walks away from the nomination or sticks it out for the nomination. Right. You want to see him succeed.
Well, we do. We have known him for a long time. Mika and her family extraordinarily close to the Bidens.
I mean, here's the thing. Do you guys know how long like 115 days really is? Like, you're almost a new person in that. I mean, like 4 months from now, like, are we going to even remember? Like, the only way we're going to remember Biden is all the ways we condemn him for continuing to support Israel on his way out of the fucking White House. By the way, where's AIPAC to save you, Joe? It looks like AIPAC didn't give a fuck about you. You don't see it. You don't hear about big Israeli donors coming to Biden's defense. It's almost as if he destroyed his legacy. He destroyed a nation of people, and the AIPAC scum are nowhere to be found. They're not even grateful. The fucking fascists aren't even grateful.
Always felt a connection. The first Brzezinski award named in your father's memory went to Joe Biden for good damn reason. And
I love it, man. They're in the cope mode. I don't even need to. We don't need to hear this shit. Did you see this? This man is cooked.
And so it's all about treating people with dignity. And it's about making sure that, look, I mean, for example, look at the heat I'm getting because I named the Secretary of Defense to a black man. I named Ketanji Brown. I mean, because of the people I've named. And so.
And this, okay, that was rough. Forgetting your Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin. I don't know the man. I've never talked to him. I've never talked to the man. Okay? But I wouldn't call him a black man. Because I appointed a black man or the black man. Like, and forget his name completely. But this is the thing that I think is really the cherry on top. This is the cherry on top. Joe Biden can't even get into an SUV without assistance anymore. Look at this.
When he got down there at the base of the stairs there, he was asked questions by reporters. He told them, I am doing well. He gave them a thumbs up. He is now going to be isolating at his beach house. And we did note he wasn't wearing a mask there when he came down the stairs. But it does appear once he gets in the car that he puts that mask on.
Puts the mask on. It appears that he might be getting a little help just getting into the car there. Hard to make out through the rain what exactly is going on there. But it does look like certainly that the president's feeling the effects of early in the stages of COVID, and many of us have been there. So we do wish him a speedy recovery. John Carl, you're reporting earlier on World News Tonight, getting some pickup tonight across several news outlets. You reported on this meeting that Chuck
his
Schumer
legs
had
for him?
with President Biden. This was Saturday.
It's Joever. It's Joever. It's Joever. It's Joever. Listen. Joe Biden. I just want to. Can I be honest about Joe Biden for a second? Can I be honest about Joe Biden for a second? Again, we're not ready. We're not ready for coffin dance. We're not ready for Rip Bozo. Okay? We're not quite there yet. Okay? The thing about Joe Biden is he's a failure. And he's a narcissist. And he's probably one of the most toxic and mediocre men to ever occupy the White House. His leadership has been a disaster. His occupation of the White House, the leader of the Democratic Party, has pretty much led to its utter collapse electorally. This may be, they don't need to be timed out for that. They don't have to time them out for that unless they said something really annoying. They could just say it's like Hassan's chat and that it's getting fast. There's nothing wrong with that. They don't need to get timed out for that. That's fine. Anyway, okay, let me start from the beginning. Joe Biden has been a blight on the Democratic Party since the day he got elected. He's a narcissist. He's a mediocrity. And his insecurity has led him to seek power in the most base and venal way since day one. He's seen political power as a means for wealth, as a means for notoriety. He doesn't believe in anything. He merely follows whatever the powerful interests within the Democratic Party want him to follow. He has never been a leader. He's never been intelligent. He was on the wrong side of every major issue his entire career. His legacy as president will be fomenting a genocide of the Palestinian people. He was a failure in foreign policy. He's attempting to get us into a new Cold War with China. He has set us on the path of irretrievable climate change. The devastation that his policies will wreak on the American people have been legion. He didn't do a single thing on any area that will be well thought of in the future. Not one area. Build Back Better failed. His bipartisan infrastructure bill was basically a highway bill. Almost nothing for public transit, almost nothing for high-speed rail. His policies on tariffs toward China were suicidal. He put tariffs on electric vehicles and solar panels, but not tariffs on the cheap, disposable crap that fills our landfills and blights our oceans. There isn't one area where he's been a success. He was rolled by the Republican Congress. He was rolled by conservatives in the Senate, conservative Democrats in the Senate. He was rolled by Israel. He got his policies in Ukraine have led to the destruction of the Ukrainian nation. Ukraine is in a hole that it'll never climb out of. There isn't one area where you could point to Joe Biden and say with a straight face that he was a success. There isn't one single area. And if you think there is, you are coping. Unionization rates hit a record low going back to the fucking 19th century. Do you understand how bad he was? We've lost the right to a safe and legal abortion in this country. The Chevron doctrine, which was key for the administrative state for things like OSHA and the EPA, they've been stripped. He restarted student loans. And the cost of living, just being an American during his presidency, has become unaffordable for tens of millions of more people. Child poverty has spiked tremendously over the last 2 years of his administration. He's been a failure. And worst of all, and this is really worst of all, he has handed the Democratic Party over to the Zionist lobby, conservative billionaires, and has us down and down big to the neo-fascist or crypto-fascist movement of Donald Trump. Whether it's economically, politically, diplomatically, environmentally, and fucking psychologically, this has been a failed president. And in the history books, people, if whoever takes up the mantle of the Democratic Party loses to Donald Trump, he will go down in history as a bottom 5 president. A loser, a mediocrity, self-centered, no vision, no leadership, a loser. And I can say that I saw it coming. I fought against it with every fiber of my being. And now that I've been proven right, I feel no vindication. I feel terrible. Because as personally gratifying it is to be right and be right in public and be recognized as being right, it doesn't matter when you think about all the people that are suffering. Think about those children who didn't get childcare, whose parents couldn't afford childcare, and who are now not able to advance their careers and have freedom. Think about the fact that we don't have paid family and medical leave, another promise he broke. Think about the fact that the child tax credit was cut off, so a lot more children are now in poverty. Think about the tens of millions of Americans that will never be able to afford a home because the prices have exploded and student loans have been restarted. Think about the economic damage and the physical damage that the people of Palestine are suffering. Think about the fact that he's positioning us to have a world war with China that we cannot win. Think about the 3 million barrels of oil a day oil export terminal that he has approved that is the equivalent of 60 coal plants. That'll absolutely devastate our environment. We need to be going to zero emissions, and Joe Biden is fracker in chief. And worst of all, and this really is worst of all, we've lost the next generation. Young men in 2016 were progressive, and they were behind Bernie Sanders. Now, young men are falling into the fascist incel abyss because the Democratic Party has only succeeded in one thing over the last 8 years, and that's blocking Bernie Sanders and the left. That is Joe Biden's greatest legacy. He stopped a reasonable, gentle social democrat from making some reasonable, safe changes to make a regular Americans' lives better. Congratulations, Joe Biden. You succeeded. You blocked the left. That is his greatest legacy. And to the Democratic Party, that's a job well done. Next question will be, can we get Biden to resign as soon as possible to give Kamala a chance to get some quick and easy W's under her belt and run as an incumbent? Here's what I would want to see. Joe Biden to end the war in Gaza and then resign. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see Joe Biden end the war in Gaza and resign. So we could actually have a fucking campaign without the genocide hanging over our heads. We could actually be able to talk about the future without the fact that the Democratic Party is complicit in a fucking genocide. If the Democratic Party says he's one of the most accomplished presidents ever, then what the fuck do they consider a good president? Hasn't been very many good presidents in American history. But the ones that were good were so good that the rest of the years we could coast off of what they did. That's literally it. FDR, Lincoln, and LBJ. That's about it. Those three presidents and maybe a dash of Teddy Roosevelt. We've basically coasted. Maybe even a dash of Nixon with things like the EPA. And I'm not saying that any one of those presidents were perfect. They all were fundamentally flawed. But they're the only ones who could even be mentioned in the same breath with good. Biden is much worse than Nixon. Oh, yeah, not even close. JFK didn't do anything but get domed. And the things that he did do, you know, it's actually probably really good that JFK got domed, to be honest. Joe Biden kept one promise he made. Remember when he told people that his presidency, nothing will fundamentally change? Well, we're here 4 years later dealing with all the same shit we did 4 years ago, including, funnily enough, even a president with COVID. Damn, that's a good post. I want to get the nothing will fundamentally change and say promises made, promises kept when he fucking drops out. All right, this is from 48 minutes ago, chat. Behind the curtain, top Dems now believe Biden will exit. Several top Democrats privately tell us the rising pressure of party congressional leaders and close friends will persuade President Biden to decide to drop out of the presidential race as soon as this weekend. Why it matters? Oh, why does this matter? The 81-year-old president, now self-isolating with COVID, remains publicly dug in. Privately, he's resigned to mounting pressure, bad polls, and untenable scrutiny, making it impossible to continue his campaign, the Democrats tell us. Behind the scenes, the private message distilled in its bloodest form, the top leaders of his party, his friends, and key donors believe he can't win, can't change public perceptions of his age and acuity, and can't deliver congressional majorities. The president is being told that if he stays in, former President Donald Trump could win in a landslide and wipe away Biden's legacy and Democrats' hopes in November. And this is actually, Mike was right! And this is very simple, told you that if Joe Biden kept running, this is what would happen. And now everybody, I haven't changed my opinions. Everyone's come to me. The opinions that I have and the opinions that you formed and that we formed. And let's be honest, I didn't do this all on my own. I did this because we're a community and we challenged each other and we brought together good information and we analyzed it well with a materialist lens, with a socialist lens. And what do you fucking know? Being firmly grounded in reality makes our analysis better. Chat was right. I was right. Cassandra from PA. Common socialist W. Yeah, all that's true. Biden should announce him dropping out during Trump's speech tonight at the RNC, take media away attention from Trump. Yeah, I think that would be cold-blooded. I think they should wait for the very end of the convention because the Republicans, it'll basically make the convention irrelevant. The pressure to step aside as a candidate has been rising to intolerable levels, especially over the past few days. Democrats fully expect polls after the Republican National Convention to show a possible blowout that could bring down Democrats in Congress too. Did you guys see the polls from Emerson? Did you guys see the new polls from Emerson College? One of the best pollsters in the business. Arizona 47-40, Georgia 47-41, Michigan 45-42, North Carolina 48-41, Nevada 46-41, Pennsylvania 48-43, Wisconsin 48-43. Joe Biden is being landslided. Donald Trump is up 6 points nationally. Do you think he drops out of the race, or do I think he will resign? Honestly, I don't know. I don't really care. Him dropping out is good enough for me. Guys, honestly, that story is even old at this point. His choice to be one is to be one of history's heroes, or to be sure of the fact that there'll never be a Biden presidential library, one of the president's close friends told us. I pray that he does the right thing. He's headed that way. They're saying we're not going to fund your presidential library. If you don't drop out, we're not going to fund your library. Did you guys see the tomb that Obama is getting in Chicago? You know what I would do if I was president and with my presidential library? I would make it a gigantic social housing. It would be like Karl Marxhoff. That's what I would do if I had a presidential library. Sure, we'd have some like dumbass, and it would have like a university in it, a free university. It would have, you know, health clinics. It would have public schools. It would have it would be a actual center of human life, not a sterile museum. I pray that he does the right thing. He's headed that way. Yesterday's AP poll showing nearly 2/3 of Democrats Biden to withdraw from the presidential race ricocheted through the White House and Congress. A panic pressure campaign is pouting Biden. It's been relentless and coordinated. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer told Biden in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware on Saturday, the day of the assassination attempt on Trump, that it would be best if he dropped out. Dems on Capitol Hill, what about, and worry they'll lose winnable seats if not. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a mastermind of the campaign to get Biden out, told him that he could destroy Democrats' chances of taking back the House. We're told she's also worried about donations drying up. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries delivered a similar, if more subtle, message to Biden. Yeah, Jeffries is a fucking puppet. Former President Obama has spoken loudly with his silence and his former aides trashing Biden in public. Bill and Hillary Clinton are doing what Obama's doing. So are their former aides. We increasingly hear top Biden aides, including ones who initially urged him to fight on after his disastrous debate 21 days ago, are saying it's not when, it's when, not if Biden announces he's not running. Between the lines, Democratic insiders were hoping to avoid this. They love and respect Biden and appreciate his historic accomplishments. A Democratic official said Biden will not be dragged off the stage. The goal is to get him to walk off stage. You mean help him off the stage? Like help him get into SUVs because he's old as fuck? But he would take the hints loud as they got, so it's come to this. He's forcing people who like him and respect him to resort to trying to shame him. Reality check. Biden can't be forced out. He has the delegates. No one could physically pry them away. He needs to do it by choice and on his terms. If Biden wanted to stay in, he'd be impenetrable, thanks to liberal leaders of the Congressional Black Caucus. But his closest friends believe he's fought the good fight and will succumb to reality. The White House told us about the Schumer and Jeffries conversations. The president's told both leaders he is the nominee of the party. He plans to win. No, you're not. That's objectively not true. You are not the nominee of the party yet. Axeman Richie, thank you for the 20 months. He plans to win, and he looks forward to working with both of them to pass his 100 days agenda to help working families. Biden-Harris campaign tells us if the facts matter, they should. Here is one. President Biden is the Democratic nominee, and he's going to win this November. Well, I guess we're going to learn that facts are changeable, aren't they? But Biden is doing two new and telling things, listening more and asking about Vice President Harris's prospects against Trump. That's why you see all the leaks about Biden being open-minded. He would hardly talk to naysayers a week ago. The most likely scenario is Biden bows out and endorses Harris, but also flicks to letting the delegates sort it out if the party feels otherwise. That would aim to diffuse any criticism that the Democratic Party was being undemocratic. Harris would be hard to stop, perhaps impossible, if the Obamas and Clintons joined Biden, Rep. Clyburn, and Congressional Black Caucus in backing her. It's not clear the coordination would be so fast and clear, however. Bottom line, don't underestimate how badly Democrats simply want a ticket that could win in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Win those, and Democrats likely win the presidency. Lose them, they're toast. Yeah, Catman John. Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think caused this poll? They were all dick riding Biden a few days ago. It's because the leaders in Congress have the same beliefs I do about the polls. You know how we've been going through and analyzing the race over the past few weeks and being like, this is hopeless and he could lose and 538 is silly. Remember how I've been talking about like Joe Biden's historical, everything I've been saying, people like major media outlets start saying 5 days later or 3 days later or the next day. Like my analysis has been completely accurate, on board, prescient, and they're just, so if you watch me, you already know why. Because he can't fucking win, and he's dangerously close to being landslided. And everybody, I think, whether you're on the left or you're on the right, you understand that this is a situation where if the Republicans win a landslide, they're going to remake this country into a fascist Henry and or Hank. And maybe we would survive, you know? Maybe it wouldn't be as bad as I think it would be. But I think we're at a turning point. We're at a turning point where the Democratic Party either learns to fight, the Democratic Party either becomes a social democratic party, it either becomes a party of the base and a democracy, or it collapses. And Joe Biden represents collapse. And I'm not saying that it's more likely that they're going to become a social democratic party. In fact, I have very little faith that they will. But I think the people that actually have power want to keep that power. And they see Joe Biden as an albatross around their necks. If you're white, you might be okay. I'm one of the most, and this is really cringe to say, I'm one of the more well-known socialists in this country. I don't think I'm going to be okay. I'm not saying I'm like, maybe I'm not even the top like 1,000, but I'm certainly up there. Like if somebody sat down and said, let's make a list of 10,000 socialists, I'm on that list. Okay. Like, and that's not that many, you know what I mean? Like it's not that many people. You sound like a prepper. I don't think I'm being a prepper. I think I'm a person who's read history and is making reasonable conclusions. I mean, I don't know if you watched any of the Republicans. They're swinging mass deportation now. They're trying to make it illegal to protest Israel, and they want to deport people that protest Israel at college campuses. And it's not, you know, and this is not a self-aggrandizement. I don't think I'm all that important. I think it would be a waste of time to go after me. It's not like I have any power, but it doesn't mean that.
Well, what's that?
Doesn't mean that it wouldn't happen.
This is it right here. Today, tomorrow, Friday, through the weekend, I would say Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. If Joe Biden is still the nominee in a week, then he will be the nominee. But I have a feeling this is go time. Schiff is doing this at the behest of Pelosi. I mean, he probably, he's doing it at behest of others, but this is coordinated. There's a letter going to go out today, if it hasn't already, calling on the DNC to slow their roll in terms of this nomination process. And we're going to see what happens as people start to come out publicly and speak. And look, the last place I ever want to be is with Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi and Matt Iglesias and Jonathan Chait.
Against Bernie.
And the Pod Save crew. And I don't know. Maybe we'll have a guest on Friday that we can talk about this, because there has been also a bet by the progressives that has been placed, and the thing is, it's one of those bets that like they can't really lose. So it's probably a good bet, but we'll talk about that later in the week. Andrew from D.C. I think Mark Cuban makes a good point that the reason these SV goons are pouring money into Trump right now is a Bitcoin play. Loosen regulations, lower taxes on heightened tariffs, weakens the dollar for working people, and an absolute boom for capital. Makes too much. No, 100%. Look, from a financial standpoint, it is a Bitcoin. It is all crypto. Like crypto, when JD Vance, go take a look at what crypto is. Go to like one of those things like Coinbase or whatever. I haven't checked it, to be honest with you, but there's no doubt in my mind, crypto went through the roof the moment JD Vance was announced. There's a couple of industries. I would imagine for-profit universities also pops up a little bit, but we'll see.
My main thing is I'm hoping the AI bubble waits until Trump is in office to pop, which it's going to do.
It might, but the other irony is that the economy looks like it's about to just sort of like soar. They're going to drop interest rates in September. Rents have finally stabilized. Inflation continues to drop. Job market seems to have stabilized, still relatively strong. And Donald Trump very likely could be the beneficiary of this. He was, to some extent, after Obama as well. They finally took it 8 years to dig out of the financial crisis. In large part, it took so long because Obama just didn't spend enough. Monkey business. Are you kidding me? The bet the progressives are making is one they can't win. Worst case scenario, they've tied themselves and the progressive agenda to a Biden loss in November. If Biden loses in November, no one's going to say it's because of the progressive agenda that he introduced in July.
What? What are you talking about? Of course they would. Do you think the centrists are going to stop being ideologically anti-left just because they've been proven wrong? Of course they would.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think it'll be Gaza.
It'll be? No, they won't. They're not going to blame Gaza. What are you guys talking about? They'll say he spent too much money with the Inflation Reduction Act, which caused inflation, and we need to do austerity, and we need to attack to the right. There was the immigration spike. It was the inflation from spending too much money. He needs to go right. We need to go right wing. We need to be the Republican Party of 1984. That's what they will say. No one's going to act honestly. They have a political agenda. They're not going to be like, well, it's because Biden's special age. It wasn't the policies. They oppose those policies, guys. And they're going to try to use anything they can as an excuse to oppose it. They are ideological.
His age.
And also Hillary ran insanely, presidents always run progressive, and then
well, first of all,
it
is completely against. Yeah, it's fascinating because we always hear they're going to attack to the center, and Biden's saving himself, at least in his mind, by rolling out some progressive initiatives.
But that's because he's still fighting the primary.
Yes. The problem is, it's not going to have the impact that anybody wants it to, because there is one reason why Joe Biden will be, if he loses.
This is what I would tell you, is that the policies in and of themselves don't matter. Do you not understand this? This is very simple. The reason why is because people don't understand them. In order for policies to matter, you need a lot of prerequisites to be filled. One, people have to believe that the policies actually can get implemented, which they don't. Two, they actually have to believe that policies can make a difference in their lives. They don't. Three, they have to trust you and think that you actually mean what you say. They don't. And 4, and this is the most important part, when the policies get implemented, people have to understand that the policies are create consequences in their lives that make their lives better. They have to actually link those policies to their positive outcomes they're experiencing. If you don't have all 4 of those things, people will not give a shit. You could suggest the best policies of all time in a perfectly calibrated social democratic Uber state. And if people don't believe that you can get it done, they're not going to vote for you. And being a good speaker, being a good communicator, being someone who can explain all of this to people and have them believe it is the job of a politician. The job of a politician is to collect a majority support by cobbling together a coalition of various interests and delivering a majority at the ballot box, and then maintaining the support of those groups through rewarding them with government policy and making them stronger and making those groups larger. That is the purpose of being, that's how you actually achieve power in a democratic situation, is you build up your support groups and you make them stronger. Now, Republicans' coalition is a bunch of crap that isn't even related, but if they link it together, if they take religious fundamentalists and group them together with gun nuts and group them together with war hawks and group them together with fascists and racists and group them together with finance capital, well, they got a stew going. And their goal is to make every one of those groups stronger, which they do, which is why Democrats lose. How do Democrats make organized labor stronger? Is organized labor stronger under Joe Biden? The answer is no. If organized labor doubled in size, it still wouldn't be that strong. That shows you how far behind we are.
And if he loses, it's because
thank you.
He cannot perform the basic functions of campaigning. It's not because of his record. I don't even think it would be necessarily because of Gaza, although I wish more people cared about it. It's going to be because he cannot perform the basic functions of campaigning. And, all right, so just the monkey business, best case scenario they have is a bunch of IOUs from a second-term Biden who has publicly lost the political support of most of his party. No, see, I disagree with this. The reason why people want Biden out is not because they are withdrawing their political support of him. They don't believe he can beat Trump. If he beats Trump, he's going to be there. Everybody's going to be like, I was wrong. You were right. And Biden's going to have articulated this agenda. And look, there really is no reason to believe that he's not going to at least attempt to follow through on these things. I mean, he said he was only going to do $10,000 per person on college debt relief. He has certainly attempted iterations of that. You can argue the first time around he didn't do it on the right authority, but the second time around he did. He's still being thwarted.
Well, here's the problem. The problem is that this is why Joe Biden is a bad president. Because, number one, the first thing, he should have been taking an adversarial position toward the court from day one. He should have come into office saying there's a far-right Supreme Court that has gone rogue and it's exceeding its powers and we need to rein it in. And he should have been saying that. Now, you can sit back and go, well, that would have been risky. Oh, that would have been risky. Well, he's going to drop out. So what's the risk? That he might lose the election to Trump? Well, guess what? He was a pussy and he's losing the election anyway. So it seems to me that instead of being a pussy, you should try, I don't know, telling the people the truth. And if you lose a bunch of times telling the truth, then maybe you lie. Maybe out of desperation, you try to shade the truth. But how about this? Try telling the truth for a while. Try educating Democrats that the Supreme Court is gone rogue and is full of 6 conservative Supreme Court justices that need to be reined in. And you need to be caught trying, and you need to be caught fighting. But Joe Biden has never done that because he's an institutionalist. See, he loves this filibuster. He loves the Supreme Court. And then he wants to whine and cry that the filibuster of the Supreme Court blocked him. You can't have it both ways, man. You can't say the Supreme Court is great when they block me and the fucking filibuster is awesome. And then when those things are used to block you, use them as an excuse. You support those things. And that is the problem with Joe Biden, is he's not telling Democrats and the American people what they need to hear in order for us to get progressive change. And I'm sorry, Sam Cedar, but that is a fatal error that has to be corrected. We cannot have more Democratic leaders who don't tell the American people the truth that our institutions need fundamental reform. If you're an institutionalist in America in 2024, you are aiding and abetting fascist takeover of America. That is the reality. And if you don't, and this is a major problem, if you're not anti-electoral college, if you're not anti-Supreme Court and pro, expansion or jurisdiction stripping or, term limits or whatever the fuck, all of the above for the Supreme Court, then you're a fool. If you're not saying we need to have a parliamentarian that doesn't try to block legislation, if we need to get rid of the filibuster, we need to add DC and Puerto Rico or whatever else as states. If you're not saying those things, you're not serious about policy. And Joe Biden isn't saying those things. He's not serious about policy. And until we get a Democratic Party that's willing to play constitutional hardball the same way Republicans are, then it's pointless to talk about any of this other shit. It's pointless to give him credit if he knew it was going to fail. And that is the difference I have with all these libs, is you can't pretend this stuff matters if you know it's going to fail. It's like taking a fucking 6-year-old and putting them in front of a Major League Baseball pitcher and saying, I don't know, if he gets a home run, then we'll get all sorts of great treats. He can't hit a home run. It's an impossibility. Until you start putting Major League hitters in the batter's box, there's no chance of a home run. And Joe Biden is a little league fucking right fielder. And even if you put, and by the way, chat, even if you put a Major League batter into the fucking batter's box, it's pretty hard to get a home run. You're lucky in the 200 pitches that you see in a fucking game, you see one fucking home run. That's the reality.
But if you look at things like judges, if you look at things like antitrust, you look at things like labor.
I'm looking at all those things. Like, honestly, I would love to debate Sam Cedar on it, whether Joe Biden was a successful president. He wasn't. If I look at things like labor, record low unionization rate. No labor law passed. Okay. What was the other thing he said? Let's go through all those.
Antitrust.
Oh, judges? Biden falls behind Trump's pace on confirming judges as he enters 4th year in office. Oh, okay. Well, looks like he fell behind the pace. He fell behind. So he appointed less judges from Trump, even though there's plenty of vacancies. So judges, he got 1 Supreme Court justice. Trump got 3. So judges, unions, As I said, record low unitization rate in America. Oh, but Mike, he got a couple of NLRB decisions. Did you not see Chevron? We have a far-right Supreme Court that might even declare that shit fucking unconstitutional for all we know.
Judges, if you look at things like antitrust, you look at things
even
like
an antitrust. I mean, Lena Khan, I'm sorry, I love her and I think she's great, but she's under attack from all sides, including the Democratic Party. And honestly, what big companies has she broken up? What big mergers has she blocked? What are you talking about? Now, I'm not saying these things are bad, okay? I'm not saying Lena Khan is bad. I love Lena Khan. I love some of the decisions that the National Labor Relations Board has made. I'm in favor of those things. But let's get ourselves back onto reality. Like the Joy Silk doctrine was a good decision. But like reinstating Joy Silk was a good thing. But what are you talking about, man? Like you have to stop thinking of stuff relatively and you need to start thinking of them absolutely. What do I mean by that? A lot of times you're going to hear stuff like Joe Biden is the most progressive president of my lifetime. That's a relative statement. That is a worthless statement. You need to ask yourselves, were more people housed? Did the life expectancy go up? Did more people have access to childcare? Did more people have access to health care? Was the world more peaceful? Did unionization go up as a percentage of the workforce? You need to start asking yourself real shit, real questions. How's the opioid epidemic doing? How's homelessness doing? How's the United States Postal Service doing? How about income inequality? Now, some of these things have gotten us slightly better. Slightly. You're going to say that's the most progressive president of my lifetime is a meaningless statement. What you need to be asking yourself is, was progressive goals accomplished or significantly advanced? And the answer is no. And if you can't be honest with yourself about that, then you're never going to see anything change in this fucking country. You're just going to become another Democrat partisan. And Democrat partisans just care about winning. And you know what happens when you become a Democrat partisan? Suddenly you think it's a good idea to adopt Trump's immigration policy. Suddenly you start thinking it's a good idea to have a Cold War with China because, hey, 51% of people think we need to have an immigration crackdown. So I guess it makes me more likely to win. So I guess we need to do immigration crackdowns. You stop caring about progress and you start following every little poll fluctuation and you veer further and further and further to the right. It's absolutely worthless to try to chase public opinion. You need to drive public opinion. You need to be a leader. You need to be trusted. When you are a leader, when you are trusted, people will follow you. That's what we saw with FDR. That's what we're seeing it in Mexico. In Mexico, AMLO and his party, they said, fuck this shit. I'm going to go and I'm going to have a show every day and I'm going to talk to the Mexican people. And what happened? They followed him. He didn't try to chase a WAPO fucking editorial board. And you know what? All the elites hate his fucking guts, but 60% of fucking Mexicans love him. That is the difference between what I don't even know what Sam's saying anymore. I don't even get it. Have you not experienced what chasing Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton looks like? It looks like defeat. It looks like losing. And I'm not saying that you need to be unhinged and hate Joe Biden in every way and disagree and think that nothing good ever happened. But you need to start judging the world from an absolute fixed position that is relative to real material reality and stop being bamboozled by rhetoric. You know what? I'll give you an example to help you out. It's like if you have a big hole in your roof and you hire a roofing contractor and he doesn't patch the hole. And then you hire another roofing contractor and he doesn't patch the hole. And you hire another roofing contractor and he doesn't patch the hole. Do you say, this is the most competent roofer I've had in my lifetime? Or do you look at the giant gaping hole in your roof and say, I need a real roofer that knows what the fuck they're doing? The most successful president of my lifetime is a meaningless statement.
Labor. You look at things like the LNG export.
I mean, he's going to need the filibuster to get rid of the filibuster. I mean, that's the thing is, like, even if he was talking like that, though, like, I just, it's not really falling on my ears super welcome because I don't think he can get margins.
Well, we don't think that he can win.
Exactly.
Listen, there is value in setting an agenda, even if you don't achieve that, because it starts to create a baseline for what constitutes democratic politics.
Well, not only that, we are in a movement, and maybe this is something that Sam and I disagree with, and I'd love to know what he thinks, but the United States Constitution is a terrible document, and it's a piece of trash. And the governmental system we have is incoherent, stupid, and should be reformed fundamentally. Now, I don't know if Sam Cedar agrees with me or not, but the fact that we have states is stupid. We should have, at most, regional intermediary governmental organizations, but it shouldn't even be elected, quite frankly. It should be appointed. States are stupid. We should have local government and we should have federal government. And maybe we'll have like states, but there should be like 13 of them, not 50. And they should be relatively equal in population. We need to eliminate the Senate, is what I'm saying. Like, the Senate should not exist. Or it should be fundamentally reformed. The Electoral College shouldn't exist. We should actually have a democratic system where people could vote and not have to worry about spoiled votes. Our system sucks. And so many liberals, like Sam Cedar, are enamored with like the 10-year period where the Supreme Court put out some semi-progressive decisions. And they fixate on that 10 years as if it's representative of the court. The Supreme Court of the United States is a reactionary, anti-democratic blight on our society. Does it mean every decision from the fucking Supreme Court is bad? No, but most of them are. How would I redraw the states? As I just said. And like, obviously, this is a pretty radical thing to say, but getting rid of the Constitution happens a lot in other democracies. And the kind of like religious solemnity that people in America have toward the founding fathers is what's putting us into this fucking mess, because we can't implement new ideas. We can't advance as a society. There's too many veto points in our government. There's too many places where reactionaries can block progress and take us backwards. Do you think a coherent, sane person would design our transportation systems as they exist in America? Do you think a sane society would have a healthcare system that we have? Do you think a sane and effective society would have the foreign policy that we have? There isn't one system that's operating well in this country. Not one. That's a pretty big damning fucking indictment of it, isn't it?
If he wins after doing this, despite the fact that in July, when he starts offering these programs, 65% of the Democratic Party wants him out. Something's going to get credit for it. And it's not because he got younger, I can assure you.
He's not going to run.
And I can tell you right now.
He's not going to... He's fucking toast. Why are we even talking about Joe Biden? He's fucking toast.
She has no idea who Mike is.
Mike. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But your name won't start changing your ways. Change your ways. We're changing your